Hello, hello, hello. Happy Wednesday, my friend. Grab your beverage, have a seat, pull up a chair, take a breath, have a breather. Let's chat. I'm curious on something. Yes, I'm still in France for another couple of days, and I have a couple of questions. First of all, how long does it take to get adjusted to a new time zone? How do you get adjusted to a new time zone? Do you power through exhausted and then force yourself to fall asleep? And then what do you do if you wake up in the middle of the night? How do you get that jet lag to condense to be a smaller duration? I've got a friend that actually she calls it a hack, where you start a week or so, like a day, at least a couple of days to a week before you leave, doing a certain thing where there are different meridians in our bodies. Can you believe this? There's different meridians, and there's different times on our meridians. And you take the time zone that you're at, which may be 2 p.m, and I'm just making it up because I haven't seen it, but it might be your left wrist. And the time zone that you're going to might be your right knee. And so you take your left wrist of your time zone and you connect it with the time zone that you're going to, and you hold it there. And supposedly that alleviates, I think she may correct me, but I think that's how it works, and you alleviate the jet lag. I will tell you, I didn't do that. And as a result, I had a little bit of jet lag. I'm someone who pushes through. Because coming to Europe, you're you fly all night, but not really. You leave at 7 o'clock at night, or maybe even a little earlier, and you get in at what's typically to your body clock time. So even if you got in and you took an hour or so, you had something to eat for dinner on the plane, and then you went to sleep, you only had, if you're lucky, by the time they start descending and they ding ding and the lights come back on and all of that, you're lucky to get 3 hours. And for me, existing off of 3 hours, if I'm lucky, is rough, is really, really rough. But when you land, because it's 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock body clock time, it is actually the morning, 8 o'clock or something. And so I hit the ground running, and I just push myself to stay awake. And then I go to bed, not too early, because I'm concerned that I'd wake up at 1 in the morning and, be wide awake. And so instead I try and push to be 9:30-ish, 10 o'clock, and then I go to sleep. And typically I can push myself to get on the new time zone pretty quickly when I'm coming to Europe. But when I go back, it's hell. It's not easy. Going westbound, I find it so much more difficult than going east. Do you find that? Even in the States, me going westbound, is tough sometimes. It's tough. Me going east isn't so difficult. And so, I'm just curious, what do you do for your jet lag? Do you just, my husband says you adjust, 30 minutes a day? So if you're 6 hours difference, that's 3 days that it takes to adjust to the new time zone. Then the issue becomes, once you adjust to the new time zone, it's typically time to leave. So then I'm going back and readjusting. So I'm curious if you have any hacks, because I've got a couple more days here in France, and then I head back home. And I didn't leave myself too many days to get readjusted to the time zone. And I'm super curious if you have a hack that alleviates jet lag. Please do share. Please do share. I also wanted to tell you that I realized today, here's something else that I realized, because I haven't, like I said, I haven't traveled as much as you would have thought I would have. And over the years. And it's been different now that I don't have my children. I hope you can hear me because it's kind of loud here. Now that I don't have my children. And so here's something that I discovered. Today we did a walking tour. We did a 2-hour walking tour. It was awesome. I got to learn a lot of things about sculptures and in ways that were really interesting. Not like in 1712, they like, not into that kind of history. But this one sculpture in the 1970s, like 1973, the residents of Nice decided that it was a statue of Apollo in the middle of their square. And they decided that having a naked statue with genitalia was not something that they wanted people to see, especially small children. So they had a petition to move the statue out of the Times Square up on a mountain where nobody would really see him. Well, that is what actually happened. They moved him. And years, decades later, when they actually remodeled the town square in Nice, they decided to bring him back. But when they moved him, they decided that the artist who created the sculpture made him too well endowed and that they needed to shorten his penis. You know what? I will never forget that story. I will never forget that story. And then later they brought the sculpture back. Genitalia out, but now smaller. Goodness gracious, it just made me chuckle. That was the little girl in me. I was just chuckling. I thought it was funny. And it was a great walking tour. The best parts were that he made it human, that he made it relatable, that he made it understandable, and memorable. And so it made it so much more enjoyable for me. And, also, the nice part about doing a walking tour is that he tells you all the cool places that locals go. Yeah, like restaurants and things to make sure you see that are off the beaten path and all. It was so super duper nice. And he sent us an email with all the links of all the different restaurants. He talked about the food that is indicative of Nice. And so at lunch, I actually had it. I'm not going to be able to pronounce it properly. It is basically dough with caramelized onions on top. And is it anchovies or something? It was a little bit salty, but it was also sweet from the caramelized onions that were on top. And I actually got to have a piece of that today for lunch. Super duper yummy. Super duper yummy. Never would have known because we did do a tour yesterday, but on that tour, they didn't talk anything about the food. And so it was really nice to hear. And different places to go. Now, tomorrow, we are headed to Ez. And Ez is where the perfumes are. And so I'm super excited. We're going to do a tour of a perfume place and make your own personal scent. Woo, I'm so excited. I will let you know how that goes tomorrow. And so it's very, very interesting. It's also interesting that just down the street is a really good pastry shop. They have breads and pastries. And the first day I walked in there and I got something. The second day my husband's like, oh, can you go back and get some more French bread? Get a baguette. I was like, okay. And see what kind of desserts they have. So I got like a couple of different desserts. And I came back and we had those. And then we went back the next day and I got a different kind of bread. And he goes, oh, I really like that bread better. Tomorrow, can you get me another one of those? And so now I have literally gone back to this pastry shop every afternoon to the point where the woman like recognizes me when I walk in. She must wonder how the hell hell does this woman eat all this bread and all these sweets? Because I get an assortment. I get like, I don't know, 3 different types of desserts. And yeah, it's very, you know, it's nice that we've gotten to try a lot of different things. And it's nice that now I go in and she just smiles at me and she knows what I'm going to be asking. And it's warm and it's inviting and it's not off-putting. And that's what you get when you stay in a place for a while, which I've not had the capability of doing until now. Staying a full week somewhere is a luxury I've never done. And this has been such a wonderful gift. And I have thoroughly and completely enjoyed it. What is the one thing, how long do you spend, before I ask you that, how long do you spend when you go on vacation? Like, I will tell you, it's normally 2 days for me. 2 days, maybe 3, if I'm lucky, maybe, but it's basically 48 hours. So for me to have a full week in the same place, pretty darn sweet. And it allows me to really get a feel for the area. And I will tell you that moving forward, my suggestion would be do a walking tour with a local, a small group, not one that's like 50 or 100 people, small group. I think we had maybe, 12 people in our group. Because you really get an understanding of some of the local traditions and foods and locations and history. And it was only 2 hours. It wasn't that long. I also really loved the car ride that we did. We got to see it from a totally different vantage point yesterday. And that was super fun. And we are going to venture out. We're going to go to Ez tomorrow for the perfume. And then tomorrow night we're going to go to Monaco and have dinner. Because the guide for the car ride actually suggested a couple of places in Monaco to go to. And she says, you got to go at night because it's super pretty when they put on all the lights right there on the water. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go have dinner tomorrow night on the water in Monaco. And I wouldn't have known that. I wouldn't have known what restaurants. I wouldn't have known that the best time to go is in the evening. And I learned that just by asking the guides that take us on these tours. So highly advocate for that. Yeah, once you get adjusted to the time zone so that you don't fall asleep during the tours. And on that note, I'm going to keep this short and sweet. I would love to know if you have a hack that you do for jet lag. And I will update you tomorrow, my friend. All right. Make it a wonderful Wednesday. See ya.